The Christmas Pig, written by J.K. Rowling, illustrated by Jim Field. Chapter 11 Lost. Jack yelled so loudly that Grandpa swerved dangerously. "She threw DP out of the window," bellowed Jack. "She threw DP out of the window!" But Grandpa couldn't stop in the middle of the motorway. They drove on for what seemed like ages before he was able to pull over. Holly's arms were folded. Her face was cold and set. She didn't seem to care at all about what she'd done. Once they'd stopped, Grandpa got out of the car and ran back the way they'd come, disappearing into the snow in the hope of rescuing DP. "Grandpa will find him," said Gran, but Jack didn't believe her. He tried to get out of the car to look for DP himself, but Gran made him stay inside. Jack began to yell and cry. He had to have DP back. DP was the only one in the whole world who knew everything, who always cared and never changed. He needed DP. He had to have him, and DP needed Jack, because only the two of them understood each other. And now DP was lying lost in the middle of the motorway, believing Jack had left him forever. Jack kicked the back of the driver's seat, still yelling in the rage, and tried to punch Holly. "Jack," said Gran, shocked. "Calm down. We'll find DP." A police car drew up and parked behind them. The policeman got out and came to ask Gran why they'd stopped. Gran explained and the police went away again. Still, Grandpa didn't come back. Cars whizzed past, more snow fell, and Jack looked out of the back window, sobbing. He couldn't get rid of the image of DP flying out of the car window, small and floppy and frightened, as he cartwheeled away through the air. Grandpa had to find him. He had to. But when Grandpa came back to the car, he gave a little shake of the head as he looked into Gran's eyes, then turned to Jack and said, "I'm sorry, lad. I think it's gone." After that, Jack was shouting and crying too loudly to hear anything anyone said to him. He couldn't stand feeling the car bearing him away from the place where DP was lying, lost and bewildered, and wondering why Jack wasn't coming back for him. They drove home with Jack pummeling his fist against the door of the car, begging to be let out so that he could go back and find DP. When he got home, Jack tried to run back up the street towards the motorway. Grandpa grabbed him and half dragged, half carried him into the house. Once inside, Jack ran up to his bedroom and began to throw things. He took all the toys he could reach from their shelves and threw them across the room. He ripped posters down from his walls. He pulled out drawers. He even overturned his desk. Gran came upstairs. "Jack, stop it! Stop it! You're usually such a good little boy." In answer, Jack picked up his waste paper bin and threw it at the window. He'd hoped the glass would break, but it didn't. "That's enough, young man," roared Grandpa, appearing in the doorway behind Gran. "You just calm down right now." There wasn't much left to throw or break, so instead Jack launched himself face down on his bed and refused to move or speak. At last, Gran and Grandpa left him alone. All Jack's life, when he'd gone to bed, he'd reached for DP. He seemed to feel DP right now. His limp little body, his bean-filled belly, his worn trotters, so good for wiping away tears. He could even smell DP's slightly grubby, home-like whiff. "I'll find you, DP," Jack vowed into his tear-soaked pillow. I'll come back when they're all asleep. After an hour, when Jack had cried all he could cry, he lay on his bed in his wrecked room and listened to the sounds of the house around him. He kept hoping to hear the front door open. If Gran phoned Mom at work and told her what had happened, she'd surely come home early. Mom understood how important DP was. She'd help him look, but the front door didn't open. Grandpa came and knocked on Jack's bedroom door at 1 o'clock and asked him if he wanted lunch. Jack shouted no. A little while later, Gran came to his door and asked him if he wanted to come and see the new angel on top of the tree. Jack shouted no even louder. Then he heard the front door open and close. For one happy moment, he thought Mom had come home early, just as he'd hoped, but instead, he heard somebody walking away down the snowy front path. He didn't care who it was or why they were going. He no longer cared about Christmas. All he cared about was DP.